There seems to be a bit of an exception made for people going to fight in Israel, and we don't really see any legal justification for this.
This lawyer is demanding answers from the British government on how many Britons have gone to fight with Israel in Gaza. In her letter to Britain's Foreign Office, Ilora Choudhury from the International Centre for Justice for Palestinians said that the Israeli army called up 360,000 reservists from across the world following Hamas's attack on southern Israel.
So there are no official figures on the number of British citizens who are currently fighting in the region. There have been a number of press articles on individuals who have gone over to fight, and from those press articles it appears that there could be hundreds and potentially thousands of British citizens currently fighting in the occupied Palestinian territory on behalf of the IDF. In this case, there is clear evidence that war crimes and potentially even crimes against humanity have been committed. We've seen ample evidence of civilian casualties and civilian targets. There is a risk that they could become individually complicit for serious mass atrocity crimes that are currently being carried out by the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza.
Britons going to fight in Israel are given kid-glove interviews on mainstream news channels before they fly out.
I've served now in 4 campaigns, so the Israeli army is now expressing that desire to really put an end to this chapter and an end to Hamas rule in the Gaza Strip. And that means a lot to me and to my units.
While the press in Gaza are presented with British conscripts who deliver Israeli army propaganda in soft English accents.
Yeah, we go and help them, and we're trying to be their friends. We bring them food, we just want to make them feel comfortable. That's the first thing we want to do.
So how did they get here? Many of these fighters had served in IDF programs for non-Israelis with Jewish backgrounds, like the Mahal program, named after international brigades who participated in the 1948 Nakba.
So there are various different programs. You can join as a reservist, so they're people who've already fought in the army, who came through normal army training. But there's also another program called Mahal, which is a volunteers program. And this is a program for people who are not Israeli citizens, and they can go and volunteer for the IDF. They do get paid, but it's not a mercenary program as such. But I would say that for the most part, based on our reading of the press, that most people have been going out for ideological reasons. Well, we think it's been going on since potentially the second intifada, so maybe for the last 20 years. We know that there have been people who have repeatedly gone out and potentially could be there right now. There's nothing to stop these people going back and forth. I mean, the ones who are dual citizens will potentially just enter on their passport. The ones who are going on the Mahal program will be getting visas very easily from the Israeli government. And the British government appears to be turning a blind eye to this. So none of these people, as far as we're aware, have been questioned on their return. None of them have been investigated, and we're not aware of any prosecutions whatsoever.
The attitude of Western leaders towards Russia's invasion of Ukraine versus Israel's aerial assault and invasion of Gaza has drawn criticism for the double standards and exceptions these countries make for their allies. Although Ukraine is an ally of the UK, they issued very clear guidance saying UK citizens shouldn't go and fight in Ukraine and they could be arrested if they do. But no such guidance has been released for Brits fighting with Israel.
British people going out to fight in Ukraine may be prosecuted on their return. So that's been made very clear. We know that there have been people who have been investigated. We're not aware of any prosecutions at this stage. We also know that people have been investigated and prosecuted for going to fight in other regions, such as in Syria, in Iraq, in Turkey. We do believe in the equal application of the law, regardless of your nationality, religion, or race. But there seems to be a bit of an exception made for people going to fight in Israel, and we don't really see any legal justification for this, particularly in circumstances where there is clear evidence that war crimes are being committed and that British citizens could be going out and becoming implicated in war crimes.
Clearly, any UK citizen going to fight for Hamas or another Palestinian armed group would be treated very differently to those fighting in the Israeli army on returning to the UK. But why is that?
If a British citizen went and fought for the Al-Qassam brigades or for Hamas, they would be certainly investigated and potentially prosecuted for fighting for an organisation that's considered to be a proscribed organisation under domestic anti-terrorism legislation. And if an Israeli dual national, British dual national fighting for the IDF went out, they would not be investigated or prosecuted on their return. So you have a serious disparity between people of different backgrounds, fighting in essentially the same conflict but on opposite sides, and one set of people would be prosecuted and the other wouldn't.
7, 4, 2, 1, 0.